Hello and welcome to the Excerpt. I'm Taylor Wilson. For American sports lovers, the Super Bowl is a bettor's dream. This weekend, it's estimated that a record 68 million Americans will be placing wagers on the big game. As legal sports betting grows in reach and accessibility, what impact does that play on the landscape of sports and fan participation? Here to talk about what opportunities exist as professional sports continues to embrace gambling is Richard Morin, editor of sports betting partnerships at USA Today. Richard, thanks for hopping on the Excerpt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
So it's Super Bowl Sunday, Richard. So let's just start here. It's estimated that Americans will wager $23.1 billion. That's up from $16 billion, by the way, last year on just the Super Bowl. With more than two-thirds of the country being able to bet across 38 states and Washington, D.C. at this point, Richard, how is the sports betting world's continued growth impacting the sports landscape?
Well, it's huge. I mean, sports betting now that it's so widespread and legal in so many states, it really has changed the way we consume sports now. It's all through sports betting. You see so many venues where sports betting is legal. They have sports betting literally in the venue. And that was, last year's Super Bowl, right? Was the first time we had a Super Bowl where betting was legal in that state. So I think now that this Super Bowl is in Las Vegas, you're going to see a little bit of that. And obviously, Vegas is Vegas. And Super Bowl Sunday is the Super Bowl for sports betting, too. It is the capital. It is the day that is circled on all of our calendars who work in sports betting. So it's ginormous. It's going to be even bigger than it was last year. I know that last year, I think FanDuel said they were taking 50,000 bets per minute. Just stop and think about that. 50,000 per minute last year at the peak. So I think you can expect some similar numbers, if not higher numbers this year with the Super Bowl in Vegas. And obviously the Chiefs are back and the 49ers are a big market team as well. So can expect some big numbers again.
Well, you mentioned the game is in Vegas this year. Not only that, Vegas now has its own teams, right, Richard? We're into this new era. And, sports leagues themselves have gone from distancing themselves from betting to embracing it wholeheartedly in most cases. Soon enough, the NFL, NHL, and MLB will all have teams based in Las Vegas. What is the story behind this growth and acceptance from the leagues around sports betting?
I think it's multi-pronged. For me, I think the biggest thing is they probably realized they couldn't run away from it. That sports betting was a kind of a runaway train that they weren't going to stop. It was going legal in some big states, some key states. Obviously, was left up to the states. So I think they realized we're not going to get away from it. So we might as well make some partnerships, have some relationships with these regulated sports books that are legal in various states, and quite frankly, make money off of it. I mean, we know the NFL is making quite a bit of money from sports betting too through their partnerships, and it's no different with any other league. So I think it was more of a get out of the way or hop on the train kind of situation for these sports leagues. And here we are.
And should we be concerned about the integrity of sports as betting becomes a more integral partner and aspect of the game?
I think it's a really fair question. Obviously, there are so many scandals going back. I mean, the 1919 Black Sox scandal when the Chicago White Sox, through the World Series, and betting has always been synonymous and such a faux pas thing with regards to sports, and that's going all the way back to the turn of the 20th century, right? So I think it's fair to have some concerns. We've seen some players get suspended, be disciplined by their respective leagues for gambling, even if it's not gambling on their own games, right? It's these leagues have policies in place, and that's good to see. And it's good to see that those policies are being enforced. But again, as it becomes more widespread, as it becomes bigger and more money is being pumped into it, it's certainly a concern to always have. But it's good to see that these leagues have policies in place, and you just hope they're being policed the right way.
And what impact is all this having on the landscape of fan involvement and participation in sports? Is it drawing more interest from people that maybe previously wouldn't have been as involved or as interested as fans?
Yeah, like I said before, I think sports betting is completely transformed, if not transforming, the way sports games are watched and enjoyed. I think it's going to be the new way for the middle-aged, millennial, aged fan that is enjoying the game now. They're doing it through sports betting. So that stands to reason that you're going to attract folks who might not otherwise be interested in the game. You look at sports like baseball. Baseball has had its own interest issue, let's say, in the last decade or so. The fact that you can now bet on sports, you can bet pitch by pitch, inning by inning. I think that can help sports like baseball and other sports get that interest from first inning to ninth inning, whereas it might have been a little draggy before.
And I mean, as you mentioned, you can bet pitch by pitch. You can just unlock your phone in a lot of cases and have the betting options right there. I'm curious, what are the gambling companies doing to ensure their own responsibility to sports and the consumer, especially around some of these fears about betting and gambling addiction?
Yeah, I think it's really important to always be aware of the risks with gambling, sports betting, and I know that some sports books, they have always have language, always have the 800 gambler, number readily available. You'll see a lot of advertisements Super Bowl Sunday, and you'll see them leading up to the Super Bowl of, where to call, resources that are available if anybody needs them, and um, I think that's a great thing because we know that the social costs of problem gambling are about $7 billion a year, according to the National Council on Problem Gambling, and that's essentially one of the only nonprofit organizations that's trying to minimize these social costs regarding gambling addiction. So we always have to make sure that these resources are available for folks. I know over at USA Today, whenever we have a story that's about sports betting in any way, we have disclaimers and resources available at the bottom of the page for anybody who needs them. And I think it's just important to have to make that in the limelight and make sure that that is always accessible, always available, always visible for folks.
Yeah, well, as you say, lots of media companies have gotten into the action, USA Today among them. What is the motivation behind this? And is it a revenue diversification tactic that might really help journalism in the long term?
I think so because at the end of the day, this is what folks are looking for, right? So many folks are looking to bet on sports. They're looking for the spreads. They're looking for over unders. They're looking for parlay options, and this is what they're searching for. And I think it's always been at the forefront of journalism to be providing the type of content, providing the type of information that our readers are searching for. And right now, that's a lot of sports betting content because people can bet legally now and bet in states that have legalized sports betting and with regulated sports books. So they're looking for these things, and we're trying to provide them with this information for them to make bets and also give them the information of where they can bet in their area, as well as how to place a bet, how to do so safely, and as well as, like we talked about earlier, giving them the resources that are available for problem gambling as well.
So, Richard, Super Bowl Sunday is a time when a lot of folks are betting for the first time. They're newcomers to this. What advice can you give them?
Yeah, the first and foremost thing is bet responsibly. And there's a lot of parts to that, right? Obviously, only bet what you can afford to lose is the biggest thing. And the second biggest thing is if you're not familiar with how sports betting works, you might see things floating around like Taylor Swift prop bets this weekend. The fact is that a lot of those bets are you can only make with offshore books. And we really want to make sure here at USA Today that folks are being responsible and only wagering with legal stateside regulated sports books. These entities are regulated by the states in which they are legal, and it is proven to be safe to wager your money there. And we just want to make sure folks have that information and are just betting responsibly this weekend.
And Richard, as we said, one of the major shifts in recent years has been to the smartphone and to the internet with sports betting. Where do we go from here, and what can we expect to see next as sports gambling continues to grow?
Yeah, can you imagine like VR sports betting? I'm trying to think like you're sitting at a, you're in this, dark room and, placing bets on your on VR. I don't know, honestly. I mean, the the smartphone really changed everything. The fact that you can just unlock your phone and there are bets right there, and obviously if you're somebody you have a BetMGM app on your phone and you've placed bets with them before, they even kind of know what bets that you like to place, and they're going to serve those to you. And so it's just so easy. It's so accessible. It's hard to imagine it becoming more accessible than it is. I feel like, I mean, it's hard because it just seems is the most that it can get. But inevitably, I think I think they'll come up with something. But do it on your smartwatch or something like that. It'll pop up. Hey, do you want to take the second half over under? Yeah, sure, why not? But I think it's again, I think there are pros and cons to it. I think it's just we have to make sure that we're doing everything in a responsible way, in an ethical way. But at the end of the day, people are going to bet. People are going to bet on sports, and here at USA Today, we're just trying to give them, the resources to do so in a safe and effective way.
All right. Richard Morin is editor of sports betting partnerships at USA Today. Thank you so much, Richard. Great insight.
Yeah, thank you so much.